Hey everyone, the Watch Talk Trio is back and today we're talking all things titanium. Come join our conversation. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can stay up to date on all of our latest video content. You guys, titanium is having a moment, and we know this is not just a Rolex thing that actually exists in a lot of other watch brands, so we're gonna get a chance to talk about this today.
That's some good stuff.
Yeah, we definitely have a nice variety. Before we do this, I wanna know, what are you guys wearing on your wrist?
So I did not get the titanium memo,
it's okay.
but I love Omega. They have a crazy launch with that new chrono chime. So I'm wearing the CK859, kind of that vintage inspired one. One of the most underrated Omegas in my opinion.
Watch.
Sterling silver dial, beautiful. Blued hands, absolutely stunning. And honestly, one that we don't really talk about because it's always Seamaster.
Very under the radar watch. Yeah. Great choice.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I did not get any titanium memo, just a kind of really pretty Lady Datejust, something kind of small, very
very
gold,
Emily.
a little blingy for my liking. Has a really cool champagne mother of pearl dial with Romans in the center, so
I like it.
very neat.
Love it.
Very nice.
What have you got on?
I guess I'm the only one bringing the titanium note to the table.
All right.
I'm going with the Panerai Luminor Submersible in titanium. Felt it was appropriate. I think it's a cool.
Looks good
and
on your
luckily,
wrist.
it's big enough. You've brought enough titanium for the both of us. So.
As always, you guys, be sure to let us know in the comments, what are you wearing today while you're watching this? We love to see a lot of your guys' feedback, so be sure to let us know. As mentioned, titanium. Rolex had a little bit of an unveiling recently with their new Sea Dweller, so we figured this was a great time to kind of pick up the ball and talk about titanium watches.
Yeah, so I guess to start, titanium in Rolex isn't all that new. The Deepsea has had a titanium case back for as long as it's been in production, could do the way it flexes. And titanium is something that literally exists at every price point from a few $100s all the way up to six-figure pieces and beyond.
Which is pretty great.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Titanium's been out for a little while. I mean, as time goes on, we start seeing more and more brands incorporating it, more styles.
Yeah.
It is a little more difficult to work with the tooling, and it's not something that everyone kind of jumps into. But now we're starting to see titanium all over, from from micro brands all the way up to super luxury pieces. So I think it's a really great material. We have some really cool watches today that are some examples of it.
I know, it's a good way to add variety in your watch box.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that not all titanium is created equal. In the same way that you have 316L steel, 904L steel, you can have 18 karat gold, and even within 18 karat gold, you can have different colors, different hardnesses, depending on what you mix into it. So yeah, not all titanium is created equal, and the assortment here spans a mix of both.
Let's jump into the watches. What do we've got on the table first?
Well, a smaller titanium Panerai is probably up first. So although Justin's got the giant Leviathan submersible there, Panerai does a lot with titanium, and as you can tell, this is a very, very traditional looking Luminor. If you wanted, it is a big watch. There's a lot of metal there, so for those who want that classic aesthetic in a slightly more lightweight package, Panerai's got you covered. And personally, I really like that it's a brushed case on it. It kind of tones it down a bit. My least favorite part about the standard Luminor is it's so much polished surface on an already big watch. I've got little wrists, it can be a bit much. So this is one of my favorite Panerais as far as what I could actually wear.
I agree. I love this Panerai. I think it's really nice. I love the brushed case. I also love the color of the titanium, right? So titanium has a different color than the steel. It's a little bit warmer. It has a little more of a gray tone to it, and I think it works really well with this Panerai.
Yeah, and I think they don't specifically indicate it. I'd imagine this is gray too, based on the color and the fact that they've opted for a totally brushed finish. That's usually done when they are looking for that aesthetic. And exactly that, it gives you that darker color versus steel where it's quite a bit brighter.
Yeah, it works beautifully with the dial. I mean, I love these sandwich dials, and it has everything I want in a Panerai. It has, it's got that Luminor look. It's a little bit different. It has the titanium, which to me kind of adds a little bit of character and adds a little bit of flavor, but it's not like a totally out of the box watch. It's still that Luminor that, I love, just a little bit different version of it. I think it's a great choice.
Yeah, it's a fun one. All right, Ripley, so tell me about this Oris.
This Oris Aquis, full titanium, case and bracelet, ceramic bezel, and it is a fraction of the price of, it's a tenth of the price or less of the new Rolex Deepsea. But that being said, it isn't, it is a premium option, but it doesn't necessarily have to cost a lot with gold, where there is a price floor due to the inherent cost of the material itself. So if you Panerai is too expensive and the Deepsea is too much, look at Oris, look at a lot of other brands, because there's a lot of titanium out there.
It's nice, and like you said, other brands do offer titanium. It doesn't have to be a super premium. I mean, this is the least expensive watch on the table by a pretty good margin, and I love it. I think it's a great watch, and part of that tool watch titanium marriage, like they fit so well with me. Like I love that.
Without question, I would wear this, Oris.
Yeah, and I most of the watches we have on the table here are fitted with matching titanium bracelets, and I think if you want titanium for the color, and I think the way to really do it the most titanium, do it best, is get one with a matching titanium bracelet, because those are the watches that are going to have that deceptively light feel when you pick them up. A titanium watch by itself on a regular strap may sometimes feel similar to a steel model if it's got a mechanical movement in it, but something like the Oris or any of these other ones, when you pick it up and if you're expecting steel, it does give you that surprisingly light. Oh, okay.
Wow, this is different. Yeah.
Which makes it even more wearable.
Yeah, it does, and it's more comfortable. And I mean, I kind of used to hate on titanium. I'll say it because of that. It was like, it's kind of cheap feeling. I expect it to be heavy. There's this association we have with heavy and quality, right? Like the heavier it is, it feels substantial. It feels like it's high quality.
Yeah, like a platinum watch. It's like Thor's hammer.
Yes, exactly. You're like, yes, this is well built. It feels good. Titanium kind of has the opposite effect to me, or it did at one point, where it just feels kind of cheap, and it's not. It's no less durable. It's it's still the same. It holds its own with steel and all that, but just that that feeling of holding the light watch. I'm so far over that, and if we can move on to the Tudor,
another great example.
I will. Yes, this is the one that has done that for me. Before, I did not like titanium, and the Pelagos changed my mind. I love this watch.
Same.
And
you own one.
Yes, I own one. I love it. I think it's a great watch, and it's the one that really changed my mind. It wasn't until I saw it in person and wore it for a while that I was like, you know what? I love this titanium. It's really comfortable. I kind of gotten past that, that idea of it feeling cheap because it was light, and it's amazing. So yeah, I think this is a great titanium watch. Anyone looking for a titanium diver, Tudor Pelagos, right?
Oh yeah, big Pelagos fan, especially with the variety of dial options and
now you got a 39 as well. Yeah. So if you can have a left-handed version, you can have it in blue.
That
You can
one's
have
great
a
too,
smaller
with the
one.
little red, and it's got the vintage feel.
We just had that on a recent watch talk. I love that watch.
That's a great watch.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think that this is where the Pelagos is a model that really embraces titanium in kind of the right way. It's very kind of utilitarian, modern, largely brushed surfaces. It makes sense in the metal, and although it does also have steel components on it for structural purposes like the case back and crown tube, I think it is one of the best watches that if you want that titanium full kind of package, that kind of really both the design ethos and the material are right on the same page, it makes perfect sense.
Feels like a love letter to the Pelagos right now.
Well, he owns one. I love one. So
It is. I love the Pelagos. It's no secret. I think it's a
okay.
great watch. And like you said, Ripley makes a good point. If you're looking for something that says titanium, that's a great one. It's not like a Submariner, but it's a different metal. But it's like this is different, and it looks and feels different.
It's
and
only
that's
ever
great.
been in titanium.
Yes.
The Pelagos is in titanium, and it is like almost the platonic ideal of one type of titanium watch. It's not only tool watches that are made out of titanium, the lightweight metal, and if you use grade 5, you can high polish it. The next one here, we have this Grand Seiko, radically different watch than the Pelagos.
Yeah.
It's polished. It looks dressy. It's got this, these beautifully crafted lugs and hands and markers. You put it on a leather strap, it's almost a dress watch.
Yeah.
Very true.
I love this watch as well. We're used to seeing titanium in sport watches and tool watches, right? I mean, we talked about it. It's a very utilitarian metal. It's lighter weight and all these, features that make it desirable, and those things lend themselves to a tool watch. So I don't think we see as many in dress watches, and I think it's kind of unfortunate because this Grand Seiko is a great example of how amazing titanium can be in a dress watch. I love the color and the juxtaposition of the polish and the matte parts, the brush parts that they have, and pair that with all the features I love about Grand Seiko. The dial on this one is beautiful. I think the color goes great. But yeah, the titanium in the dress watch is, I'd like to see more of them. This is a fantastic example.
Yeah, and one thing about a titanium dress watch or something, not necessarily a dress watch, but not just such a purpose-built sports watch, is a lot of times titanium is used to sort of mitigate the wrist presence of what would otherwise be a very chunky steel watch and a heavy watch. So like the titanium Panerai you're wearing, if that was steel, it'd be quite a lot heavier, but it's still not a light watch. When you have a watch like the Grand Seiko where the amount of metal itself is more normal in terms of what you get with a traditional timepiece, you actually really get that lighter weight appearance and feel where it goes, oh, the perception's different than a watch that is lighter than it would be, but still not objectively lightweight.
Exactly, and where, like you said, the Panerai, it kind of saves the weight. This one doesn't necessarily need weight saving, but it's not that it's not appreciated. I mean, you put this on your wrist, it pretty much disappears. Like, you forget you're wearing it. It's so comfortable, and that titanium helps add to that, that effect. It's great. I love it.
I've heard the same about this Omega Seamaster as well.
Omega does a lot with titanium. Both grade 2, grade 5. This one is made out of grade 2. And the reason that they chose grade 2 versus grade 5 has nothing to do with the strength or material properties, but just the surface finishing. If you look at this watch, there's no polished elements on it. It's all brushed. They really kind of leaned into that sort of utilitarian aesthetic. Technically, it's kind of like a film prop because it was the one used in No Time to Die. So that's where you get this darker coloration. But if you look throughout Omega's other catalog, look at some of the titanium Aquaterras, you're going to see high polished surfaces, and a lot of those are made out of grade 5. So it's not like there is a definitively better version. It's really a lot of it comes down to aesthetic preferences. And in very rare instances, like the new Deepsea, where it's rated to 60 some odd meters below the bottom point of the Mariana Trench, sure, we start getting into some of the technical properties and splitting hairs, but realistically, this one, it was chosen to be grade 2 because of the appearance. It's that dark tool look to it, and I think it looks perfect.
Yeah.
I like it. Well, we've got one more that we wanted to highlight.
And this is just like the Panerai. This is big AP offshore. If this was in steel or gold, oh my, that would be a very weighty presence. But the fact that it's in titanium, it makes it a bit more sporty. I think kind of the blue undertones on it work very well with the dark muter gray material. And I mean, when you think of AP, you go the Royal Oak, the original steel sports watch. You think of gold because it's so visually resplendent. But yeah, you'll find titanium in AP's catalog, and if you get something like the offshore, you really do kind of get to take advantage of that lightweight metal in a very large kind of burly watch.
Yeah, I like the color on this one. I think it really adds a lot. Rather than stainless, I mean, I love the stainless, but this one with the dial and the little bit of blue, I just think it just goes so well together. It's just, it's so complementary. And then, like you said, it's being large and getting that weight saving and the comfortability. I think it's a good choice in titanium. It's funny, I don't think I would have, before it existed, if you asked me if I wanted a Royal Oak in titanium, I don't think that I would have said yes, But after seeing it and wearing it and, really just getting to know it, I think it's a winner. I really like it. This one surprised me. This was probably my biggest surprise on the table that I wasn't expecting to like it, but I really do.
I'm a big fan of the variety we brought here today. You can definitely see kind of the use cases from brand to brand.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's consistent throughout the industry. You'll find titanium high complication dress watches alongside some very purpose-built offerings like the Pelagos or, of course, the new Deepsea. So it's a metal that's very useful and it's very practical. It's, lighter than steel. It's not necessarily more durable in the objective sense of the word, but you can also coat it and surface harden it. You'll see blacked out titanium watches. And so it's, I think, it's great that the watchmaking industry is kind of leaning into the material. I'm excited to see some of the other stuff we're going to do.
Yeah.
And because it can be alloyed, it's not like this is an end-all quantity. We can develop new alloys, and maybe
there'll be more coming in the future, definitely.
All right, so it's that time of the conversation. I want to know, when it comes to a single titanium watch, especially of the examples that we have on the table, which one would you guys take?
Ripley, I'll let you start this one.
Oh man, this is tough. Who doesn't love an AP? And Omega is one of my favorite manufacturers, and the Pelagos is so ideal. But I'm gonna have to go with I've just almost said all of them. I'm gonna have to go with the Grand Seiko though. It's just so not what I expect from a titanium watch, and the titanium watches I own, they're all more rugged utilitarian sorts. So this is very different. I personally love that kind of light pink cherry blossom inspired dial. And I think having a more dressy titanium watch would be something I'd get along with quite well. Plus, I mean, who doesn't love Grand Seiko? So that'd be my pick.
Absolute great choice. What about you, Justin?
Yeah, the Grand Seiko is a great choice. I love that watch. I love those dials. In titanium, it kind of just adds that little extra. But I think I'm going to go with the Pelagos. I have actually chosen it in real life, so it's kind of hard to go with something else. But yeah, I mean, the Pelagos, it's just such a great watch. Like I said, it was the one that turned me on to titanium, and there's just so much to love about it that it's getting my nod for the day. Gotta go with
it's
Pelagos.
apples and oranges
Yeah.
at this point, and
Yeah.
it is the one you own. What about you?
Literally love your guys' choices. It's tough for me. I've always been a fan of Grand Seiko, but the Pelagos really kind of is the first titanium watch that I actually knew existed. Again, kind of that novice watch collector. But when it comes to the examples that we have on the table, I'm going with the Seamaster. I love how Omega just kind of leaned into that sort of heritage note, but then added this titanium look, and it's just perfect. That mesh bracelet works for me really well too.
This one's so nice. This watch, when I first saw it, I wasn't a huge fan of it, or I was at least on the fence about it.
Wearing it on the wrist.
Then we got it in, and I saw it, I photographed it, I wore it, and I kind of fell in love with it.
Yep.
I love the styling of it, and to me, this watch in stainless, completely different watch. It does not even have the same, the same effect.
Nope.
Just the color and the
And
feel
it is
of
a different
titanium.
watch. It is a different watch.
makes
You got a no date on this one.
Yeah.
You got the redesigned crystal. I think everything plays into it perfectly on this
with
one.
the brown tones and everything, I feel like on a stainless, they just wouldn't be as smooth as they are with the color of the titanium. So
all in all, an absolute great set of titanium
Great
examples,
collection.
especially to showcase kind of that other brands have been using this material for quite some time. So
Years.
For a while, and like you mentioned, this is not the last we're going to see of it either, especially as it's kind of resurfacing as sort of this sort of opportunity to capitalize on. So it'll be interesting to see what comes. But we do want to know, which watch are you guys taking when it comes to the titanium examples that we have here, or ones we have not brought to? Be sure to let us know how you feel about titanium, what your thoughts are on it. All things are welcome.
yeah, I want to know what we missed. I know there's
Yes.
there's a
There's
lot of
plenty.
good ones that didn't quite make the cut today.
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have some opinions on those as well. Leave them in the comments. I want to see what you guys come up with.
We're reading them always, so be sure to let us know. Well, you guys, great conversation as always. Thank you so much for joining me. We will definitely have a hearty conversation for you guys next time. So until then, be well.